I'm on this one.
Oh, it says 2 options. Go back.
Yeah. All right. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome. Sorry for the delay. Make sure that you are signed into your YouTube account if you want to be able to comment and say hi to us. And we are going to get started. All right, so first, maybe if a couple more people are logging on, we are going to be washing our hands. Super important to get started. You want to wash your hands first?
Yes.
All right.
Oh, hi, Maya and Crosby and Owen.
Hello.
Okay, let's go wash our hands. Okay. It's always important to wash your hands before you start cooking. We're in a school right now, so touching a lot of door handles and things that other people are touching. So before we touch the food that goes into our mouth, we want to make sure that we wash our hands really well with warm water. And then, towel.
Love it. Awesome. Here.
Now Miss Maria's gonna wash.
All right, gonna wash my hands. And using warm soapy water. So make sure you wash your hands before we get started. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is look at the materials we're going to be using today. Oh, yeah. Or should we preheat our oven first?
Yeah, let's preheat our oven.
Okay. So we are preheating our oven to 325 degrees.
325 and on.
So that's going to be heating up while we are doing everything else.
And if you don't know, today, as you probably know, we're making kale chips. So we're going to be requiring an oven, and if you don't have the ingredients or you don't have an oven accessible, feel free to just still watch with us and see how it works.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay, so Miss Maria is going to show us a little bit of our ingredients.
Okay, so for our ingredients, we are going to be using olive oil, plain salt, and garlic powder, and you can use any spices that you like or that you have. And then, of course, we have our kale, which we're going to talk more about in just a minute. And then for our materials, we have a bowl that we're going to be putting our ingredients in. So pretty large bowl is what you want. Some cutting boards to use as our workstation. And our clean cloths. And is that everything?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, awesome.
Oh, and wait. Oh, to put them in the oven, we have our baking sheet, and we just lined it with some parchment paper to keep it all clean.
Awesome. Thank you.
So, before we start, we need to make sure that we wash all of our produce. So, since our produce today is kale, we're going to wash our kale. So, head over there.
There we go.
Okay, and now let's head over to the sink. Just going to use some cold water for this. You want to make sure to get all the dirt off because kale grows outside. So there could be dirt, sometimes you find bugs. Not bad, but I don't like to eat bugs. So we wash them off.
Yes.
it looks so good. So this is one bunch of kale, and it has about 7 different leaves. So we're going to get a lot of chips out of this, which is awesome.
Awesome. Ooh, this kale looks super fresh and very bright green color, which is perfect because today is St. Patrick's Day.
Oh yes, happy St. Patrick's Day. Okay, awesome.
Awesome, thank you.
So now that it's all clean,
Going back over here.
okay, so what's next?
All right, so to get our kale ready, what we're going to do is remove the stem. So if you look, let me shake this off a little bit. Actually, first we're going to dry them off. It's probably easier to dry them off before you put them into their separate pieces. So you can see all the kale, all the water in the kale.
It's important to dry it off because when we put it in the oven, if there's a lot of water on it, it's just going to steam and it's going to make the kale kind of soggy. And if we're making chips, we want them to be super crispy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we want to make sure to get as much water off as possible.
Yes. Look how much water is in just one piece of kale.
So we're using our little cloth towels, but you could use a salad spinner too if you have that, or just paper towels too. Make sure to get as much water off as possible.
Yeah.
Does anyone on the call like kale? Has anyone tried kale before?
Or leave a comment if you have another green vegetable that you like.
Yes.
We'd love to hear what it is.
All dry. They're so pretty.
They are. Beautiful. Mm-mm.
Do you like kale, Miss Maria?
I do like kale, but only sometimes. But I love kale chips. I think that's my favorite way to eat kale. So I'm so excited for our kale chips today.
Awesome. Cool. Okay, so what's the next step now? Now that our kale's all dry, here, I'll dump this out.
So, since we want our kale chips to be in little bite-sized pieces, we are going to take the kale and break it into smaller pieces. Oh, Maya likes avocado. That's a good one.
It's an awesome green vegetable.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take the kale, and this part of the kale is the stem of it. So we don't want to eat this part. It's very tough. Just not the best to eat. So we want to make sure that our kale chips don't have this part. So what we're gonna do is break the kale into pieces. So I think this is a good size for a chip, but maybe you like smaller chips or you like bigger chips. You can do whatever you want. Ooh, broccoli and spinach. Those are good ones. So yeah, we're gonna take our kale and break it into the smaller pieces and put them into our bowl.
And this is fun because you don't need a knife because it's so easy to just pull it apart with your fingers. And yeah.
So you kind of break it like along the stem part of it, and then break it into little pieces. And actually, when you put the kale in the oven, it will get a little bit smaller because when it cooks, it kind of dries out and shrivels up a little bit, which makes it nice and crispy. So just keep that in mind when you're breaking it up.
So in the end, you're just left with this. This is really tough. You probably could eat it, but it's really crunchy, right?
Yeah.
So yes, the question, are the stems edible?
Mm-hmm.
Probably, but not my favorite.
Kind of like a broccoli stem. Like you can eat it, but pretty tough. And I don't know if you'd want to eat it, but.
So this kind of kale that we're using today is called curly kale. So
good name for it.
Yeah, and if you can see, I'll show you a close up. It's very curly, the edges.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the perfect name. This is probably the most common one that you'll see.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Miss Maren, do you have any kale fun facts?
I do have some kale fun facts. Did you know that kale can come in more colors than just green?
Here, comment what colors you think kale can be other than green. Any guesses?
I think this is probably good for us.
Yeah. Finish this piece.
Yeah, I'll leave these as a...
Here.
Awesome.
Here. You can see we got our bowl here, all the pieces, and no stems. So that's what our kale looks like. It's nice, fresh and green. Oh, purple. Yep, that is one of them. And red. Yeah, there's a kind of kale called red Russian kale. So that's a good one.
Yeah, awesome. So kale can be green, as we see here. It could be purple, so that was a good guess. Red and even white, which is cool. So kind of like cauliflower color. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now that we have all of our kale pieces all pulled apart here, it's time to add our oil and our seasonings, because even though we could roast them like this, they might not get super crispy, so the oil is going to help it get crispy, and we want them to taste good. So we're going to add some flavoring.
Awesome.
So first, we're going to be adding some olive oil. So
how much olive oil are we adding to this?
I'd say about 2 tablespoons. You want to make sure that the olive oil coats all parts of the kale, but not too much. So we're just going to do a little eyeball here.
So yeah, when you start adding oil, you can just start with a little bit and see if it coats it all properly, because you can always add more oil, but you cannot take it away.
Do you want to do
Sure.
Okay.
So we have about a tablespoon of oil, and I'm going to use my hands and mix it up and get the oil over all the pieces of kale.
Ooh, question. Could you use an air fryer? What do you think?
I think you probably could. Air fryers are great because they get stuff really crispy and you don't have to use a lot of oil. So yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so. You want to make sure that when you put it in the air fryer, you do it in like one layer, so then it gets crispy all around. As you'll see later, we kind of keep them on a sheet, not touching, so they get crispy and not soggy. So do you think more oil? Or...
Yeah, would you add a little bit more oil? Perfect. So I think that's like about another tablespoon. So mix it up. And the oil is also going to help the salt and the seasoning stick to the kale while they're cooking.
So let's get a close-up of what this is looking like.
Look at that. They're all shiny. They have this beautiful green color. And you can see trying to get the oil into all the parts. Like the inside of here is like kind of dry still. So we want to get the kale all covered in oil, all the parts of it.
A little massage for the kale.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so then next we're going to be adding some salt. So when you add salt, it's easy to do too much. So we want to start again, just like the oil, little by little. So I'm going to be using my hand.
Yeah. Want to show how much?
Little handful.
Just about that much.
So
perfect. All right.
And a little goes a long way.
Mix that up.
Does the kind of oil matter, or will any oil work? So today we used olive oil, but you could definitely use canola oil, vegetable oil, coconut oil, avocado oil, any kind of oil.
Yeah, you might get a different, little bit of a different flavor at the end, but that would be fun to experiment, try different kinds of oil, and see which one you like the best.
Okay, so then our next seasoning is garlic powder.
Awesome.
So We'll
Just
do a little
sprinkle it
sprinkle
in.
of this. Nice.
Cool. And gonna mix it up. Get our garlic powder on all the pieces. Do you want to add a little bit more garlic powder?
Yeah. I feel like you can't ever have too much garlic.
Ooh, this looks good. All right.
So now our kale has the oil on it, it has the salt, and it has our garlic powder.
Awesome.
So
what's our next step?
our next step is we have our pan that we already covered in some parchment paper. So this is what parchment paper looks like. It's usually you can bake cookies on it and things like that. We're going to do our kale chips. So we're going to spread it out. If you want to just dump it out on here.
All right.
And see, they're all on top of each other, but we want them to be all on their own.
So we don't want them touching?
No, not touching.
Okay.
Ooh, if you wanted spice or heat, what would you recommend?
Ooh, I have used red pepper flakes before, and that's really good. But you could also use maybe chili powder or what else?
A little cayenne, maybe.
Ooh, cayenne, that would be good.
Yeah, you could, since kale is kind of, doesn't have too strong of a flavor, it's a fun canvas, I dare say, to put whatever seasonings you want on it. So actually, speaking of extra seasonings, both Miss Maria and I have chose our own seasonings to put on our own sides of the pan.
Yeah.
So for me, my extra seasoning is going to be Parmesan cheese. So kind of like a cheesy chip. So I'm going to sprinkle that onto my kale chips.
Here, let's get a close up
on my side.
Looks good.
Okay.
And you can see how all the kale are on the sheet and hopefully not touching.
Awesome.
Perfect.
And what is your extra seasoning?
My extra seasoning is this lemon pepper seasoning. Let me adjust the top. It's not working. There we go. So here, I'm gonna do a little in my hands. So we got our lemon and pepper. So I'm excited to try this. I've never tried this flavor before. And I'm just sprinkling it right on top. Try to get all the pieces. They already smell good. Yum. Cool. Awesome.
Awesome. Okay, so now that our kale is all seasoned, we're going to stick it in the oven. And since our oven is preheated, it's all ready for the chips.
Awesome.
So, want to pop them in?
Yeah. So make sure that you have an adult helping you with this. Be very careful. All right. There it is.
Awesome. So we're going to cook those for about 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. Since we're actually in a school and we're using a convection oven, if you're using a convection oven, it actually works a little bit faster. So we're going to check it at 7 minutes.
Should we set our timer?
Yes, we should.
Let me.
I can do it on my watch.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. And so do you want to talk about maybe some other types of kale?
Yeah. So, we already showed. We have a little bit of leftover kale here. Love it. And so there are lots of different kinds of kale, not just the curly kale. So Miss Maren was talking about the different colors. There are some kales that are not curly, and what else?
Yeah, so there's one kind of kale. It's actually called Dinosaur Kale, which I think is a really funny name. It doesn't actually look like a dinosaur, but instead of it being super curly like this, It's just a flat leaf, kind of looks like a leaf that you'd find in your backyard. So that's a good one to use in different recipes. And then, as Miss Maria mentioned before, there's red Russian kale, which is kind of pointy. So that's fun too. And that one could come in like pink colors and white colors. So
yeah, that would be really fun to try kale chips with all the different kinds.
Did you know? One serving of kale has almost as much calcium as one glass of milk.
Ooh, did not know that. So what is calcium important for?
That's a great question. So calcium is really important for our bodies. It actually helps keep our bones super strong. So if you didn't have calcium in your diet, you might be breaking bones a lot, which is not good. So you want to make sure you drink your milk, or in this case, have some kale.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's definitely really important. Also for our teeth. Keeps your teeth really strong too, so you're able to chew and eat your favorite foods. So
awesome. Love calcium.
Yes.
Cool. Let's see. What else? Does anyone else have any ideas of things that we can cook with kale? Any things maybe you've tried or that you want to try? We would love to hear them if you want to put it in the chat. See, Miss Maren, what's your favorite way of eating kale?
I like to put kale in my smoothies, actually.
Ooh.
So smoothies are one of my favorite snacks because you can put lots of different fruit in it and lots of vegetables, and you don't even know.
What other kinds of fruits and vegetables do you put in your smoothies?
Well, I like bananas and strawberries. I like to put blueberries in my smoothies, and then I'll put some kale because you don't even realize you're getting the kale. It just tastes like strawberries and bananas.
Ooh.
But it's a little green, so it's a fun St. Patrick's Day treat, actually.
Ooh, perfect. Love
How about you? What's your favorite way?
Kale chips are my favorite way, but if I had to do something else, I like to add kale to pastas. So having your pasta and like olive oil, and I like putting beans in it, and then kale, and you cook it all up, and it's a really pretty color. Get your greens in, and super good. I think olive oil and kale are a good combination.
Ooh, I see in the chat. So we have smoothies, nice. Kale tacos, fun. Salads, awesome, and chips, nice.
Cool.
Those are some great ways to eat your kale.
I know kale's cool because you can eat it cooked or raw. So a lot of times if you're having raw kale, like in a kale salad, you might want to kind of massage the kale before you eat it while you're making your salad, and then it'll make it a little softer and easier to eat.
You have a garden at your house, right?
I do.
Have you ever grown kale?
I have. What I like to do is have the little baby kale plants, and instead of waiting until the kale are all grown up and the plants are really big, I like to eat the little leaves. And they're a lot more tender, a little softer than the big kale like this. So you kind of just pick the leaves off, and they are delicious.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, love it.
Kale actually grows all year round in Connecticut. So even when there's snow on the ground, you can get fresh kale, which is really cool.
Awesome.
So I see a question. Could you use kale instead of lettuce for lettuce roll-ups? I don't see why not.
Yeah, you probably could if you like the taste of raw kale. Personally, I wouldn't do it because I think raw kale, unless you're really massaging it, is a little too tough. But if you like it, it's perfectly fine to eat. So might as well give it a try and see if you like it.
Awesome. So we have, let's see, that's been 5 minutes.
All right, here, let's take a look at our chips and see how they're doing. Do you want to? Oh yeah. Let's see. Ooh, wow. So do you notice how much smaller they got than when we put them in the oven?
Let's see if they're crispy yet. Ooh, I think they are.
Okay, so are we taking them out?
Take them out.
Okay. Be careful. Wow, they got so much smaller. Wow, look at those. So they've definitely turned like a bit of a darker green color than they were when we put them in the oven. It's kind of cool.
Awesome. So this is the Parmesan side. You can see the cheese.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is the lemon pepper side.
Lemon pepper side.
So we only had ours in for about 6 minutes. And some ovens are hotter than others. So that's just what happens. But they look crispy and they look done. We wanted to make sure they didn't get burnt because since they're really thin, they can burn really easily. So I think 6 minutes was a good number for our oven.
Yeah, so
awesome.
Yeah, you want to make sure to keep a close eye on them while they're in the oven, so they don't get burned. So just check on them every couple minutes just to see how they're doing.
Okay, do we want to do a taste
I don't
test
know.
now?
Do you think they're too hot, or should we wait for them to cool?
Maybe. Yeah, I think you're right. Let's
All
wait.
right. I know. I'm so excited to try them, but maybe let's wait just a minute.
Okay, so let's see.
Oh yeah, let's compare the colors of the kale also. Let's see.
So this is our raw kale, right? It's super bright green. And look what happens when it gets cooked. It turns a lot darker.
Darker green.
So also, now we only ate this part of the kale, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what are some ideas with what we can do with this part of the kale? If we don't want to eat it and we don't want to throw it in the trash, what do you think is some ideas that we can do with the stem of the kale?
Leave a comment if you have any ideas.
Ooh, someone asked, my cousins, what could you use as a dip, if any?
Ooh, that's a good question.
What would you do?
I don't know. I know a lot of people like ranch dip. It's a classic. Or like any other salad dressings that you already like would be good.
I would say you could probably use some plain Greek yogurt.
Ooh, yes.
Okay, so I see a comment for what to do with our stems. Compost.
Compost? What's compost?
So compost is a great idea, and that's an awesome way to make sure that your kale stems don't just end up in the trash and in the landfill.
Mm-hmm.
So just like we did last week with our apple cores, if we put this in a compost, it's good food for worms, and all the bacteria in the soil will break it down, and it actually creates great food for your plants to grow in.
Yeah.
So we can put this back into the earth, it will turn back into soil, and you can grow new kale with that soil, which is really
awesome. Cool. Very exciting. All right, do you think they're cool now? I think they are. So. All right. So since we both have to wear masks, Miss Maren's going to try her kale first, so I'm going to go away so she can take her mask off. So try the kale, see if you like it.
Okay. I'm very excited. So here's my piece that I chose. Has a lot of cheese on it. Okay. That is really good. It tastes just like a cheesy chip, which are my favorite. That was really delicious. I'd recommend the cheese. Let's see what Miss Maria thinks.
Ooh. Oh, I'm so excited to try. I'm going to try this nice big curly piece here. You can see what it looks like, and you can kind of hear it sounds kind of crunchy. So let me try it. Wow. That's really good. It's kind of, I like the pepperiness. It's a little bit spicy, and it's also has like a little bit of the sourness from the lemon, and the salt is just a perfect chip. I would definitely recommend doing lemon pepper seasoning. Awesome.
So they're really delicious. I would definitely recommend, if you didn't make them today, to try them in the future.
Yeah, we have your ingredients in the description, so we would love to know if you try them. Awesome.
Yeah, and so we're going to be doing this show, Cooking Corner Live, again next Wednesday. And we're going to be making something different. So,
Ooh.
what's next week's, Miss Maria?
Next week, we are making yogurt parfaits. Sounds good, right? So make sure that you are subscribed so you can see when we're doing our next one. It's going to be on Wednesday at 2 o'clock, so the same time as this week, but next week. And we'll let you know the ingredients that you need, and we hope to see you next week. So thank you, everyone, for watching. We hope you had fun and learned something.
Thank you.
Awesome. Bye.
Bye.